Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalila Brishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Tathasata Shri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalila Brishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Tathasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhara Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalila Brishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Tathasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalila Vishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Tathasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Mahabhagavad Srila Gaura Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Vaishnava Sarvabhaum Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sada Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Swarup Damodar Roy Ramanandadi Gaura Paramacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Si Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa ki jai. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Jagannath Puri Kshetra Dharma ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jio ki jai. Minash and Shri Nishringa Dev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhu ki jai. Tribhuvana Pavana Harinam Sankirtana ki jai. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra ki jai. Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shivasari Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Found it? Let me see. Oh, I see it came off the peg. Can you lift it?
Yeah.
Thanks. I think it's okay now.
Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. He Shri Guru Jnana Dina Bandho Swananda Data Karunaika Sindho Vrindavana Sina Hitavatara Prasidha Radha Pranaya Prachara Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sada Dasosmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pekshako Nityam Tat Preshtashat Karomi Swam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tvishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Ajanulam Vitabhujo Kanakavadato Samkirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Vande Karunavataro He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Avrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my Koti Koti Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Sto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Sto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat Pranams to all of my Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So a few days ago, I mentioned, a couple of days ago, about how it would be very fruitful for us to read and study and discuss the incredible composition that our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, composed as the introduction to one of his first books in English language, and that is the Venu Gita. And the Venu Gita was first presented to the world by our beloved Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in the form of his summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there, he titled this particular chapter, which is chapter 21 of the 10th canto, he titled this as the gopis attracted by Krishna's flute. Gopis attracted by Krishna's flute. Let me just find this. And it was published as the Venu Gita. Venu Gita. So this version that I have here is the most recent version, because at first, the first version came from his English talks on the Venu Gita, speaking to some of the ISKCON leaders at that time. And from the recordings of his explanation of all the verses of this chapter, so then this book was compiled from his English, which Gurudev always told that his English was not adequate, but we also saw as he toured the world over a period of 15 non-stop years, his English also became, more adequate, let's say. In fact, even our Srila Prabhupada, it's very interesting to hear his very first lectures that were recorded. He himself recorded with a tape recorder, reel to reel, that somebody had donated to him. And this is when he was alone in 1966 in the winter. And he was staying in one of those locations, maybe Dr. Mishra's or near to Dr. Mishra's, and a couple of people, 2-3 people were coming, but he was recording his lectures and his kirtan as well. And it's very interesting that, there's the actual BBT has published Srila Prabhupada's New York diary. Have you seen that? Have you ever read that?
We have it.
Yeah, we have it.
I've read it recently.
Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think?
It's a treasure.
Yeah.
Wonderful things.
Yeah.
Did
you ever read that?
I've seen it.
Yeah. No, so it's very worthwhile to read. Such a historical document. And from that we can understand Prabhupada's tremendous efforts, because he's actually keeping track of every penny. Today I spent 25 cents to buy a stick of butter, or something like that. I spent this much to take the bus from here to there. Today I went to such and such office, or I sent letters to such and such. Prabhupada was very, very busy when he was just by himself, trying to get a foothold, just trying somehow or other to get something started. Yeah.
I think that was the winter of 65. That it began.
Oh yeah, winter of 65 to 66, right. Correct. Yeah, yeah. But he arrived, when did he arrived in September of 65. Yeah. And then he was there in Butler for about 3 weeks, I think, only. Because he had 3 months only. Later he talked about this. Because that when the ship came and stopped in Boston Harbor, that's when the immigration official came onto the ship. Did you know that?
He came on.
Yes. And then he asked Srila Prabhupada, well, how long do you plan to stay? Because Prabhupada had his sponsor and everything. And Prabhupada thought to himself, and he could have asked for 6 months, 1 year. He only asked for 3 months. Because he thought, that may be long enough, I can see what I can do, But then anyway, he ended up having to, again and again, to extend his visa 3 months each time. And finally, after 1 year of that, when he finally got the 26 Second Avenue, at that time, then the devotees applied for his permanent residency and they started the whole process. Yeah, so in that diary, you know, Srila Prabhupada is actually showing what his mood was. And I remember reading one of the days, it was around the time of Gaur Purnima. Okay, so this would be like March 66. And Prabhupada was still all alone, you know, and he was mentioning this, that he's thinking about how in India at this time there are throngs of devotees and big festivities, but I am simply alone here, doing my recordings on my TR, he called it, tape recorder. And then he says, actually, I am prepared even to go to hell for my mission. If I can have facility there to preach my mission, I am prepared to go to hell. He wrote that in his diary. So, what amazing history. But eventually, Srila Prabhupada, the movement was miraculously started, and, you know, a few years went by, and Prabhupada began to travel the world, and then at that one point, he decided that he was going to present the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, it was very much needed because this is the Hare Krishna movement, and the devotees have to know who is Krishna. They have to know what is the authentic Vedic literatures describing the entire life of Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam.
In that very first words of Krishna, what he said, and someone might ask who is the girl standing next to Krishna, goes right into
Yeah,
Krishna.
of course. So we remember, I can remember, when I joined the temple and the book was kind of newly arrived there. Also the Nectar of Devotion, quite newly arrived, and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya was also there. So those three important books, plus Bhagavad Gita. We didn't have the unabridged version yet, you remember? We didn't have all the purports. But after a few years, it even took a few years to even get the full unabridged version of Prabhupada's Gita, so we just had to make do with what we had at that time. You know? So, a lot of times devotees have asked me, you know, over the years, like, which books do you recommend for me to read? And a lot of times these are quite new devotees, you know, quite new devotees. And, you know, having such an incredible, vast selection of literatures, all of Gurudev's books, all of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's books, you know, Gaur Govinda Maharaj's books, I mean, authorized personality, Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj's books, everything. Prabhupada's incredible library, you know, all these different literatures. But I thought about it, and then I decided, well, you know, really, if I'm to recommend a new person, I would recommend 4 books. And those books were specifically given for new devotees to learn the most important information that they need to learn and understand. So what would those 4 books have been?
You just mentioned them.
Yes. Yeah. Because if they read the Krishna book, well, first of all, Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Bhagavad Gita. That's the basis. That's spoken by Krishna himself. So you're the Hare Krishna movement. You have to know what were the teachings of Krishna himself. No other book like that in the whole world, directly spoken by Krishna. And not only that, Krishna spoke it at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, just before the beginning of the Kali Yuga, meant for the jivas attaining human form in this Kali Yuga, because they don't have the intelligence, everything, to study all the Vedic literatures, even Srimad Bhagavatam is very vast, but that Srimad Bhagavatam, it is the specific subject for this age, and actually for eternity. So, is the essence of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is to present Krishna, his name, form, qualities, pastimes, his abode, his associates, everything. So very lucky to actually join the movement at that time when it was all available. We didn't have the whole Bhagavatam, we only had the first canto at that time. In fact, we only even had the very same Indian printed books that were brought over on the Jaladuta, and later some more of them sent by Srila Narayan Maharaj, Gurudev. So, but it was adequate for that time. And I can remember opening up the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, beginning to read through that, and coming even to the Roy Ramananda Samvad, and the conversation between Rupa Goswami, Rupa Siksha, Sanatana Siksha, all. And the nectar of devotion was, we studied it every day. So much, so sublime, huh? So sublime, and all these pastimes Rupa Goswami is giving, and we're hearing all that nectar. So, Prabhupada was not able to personally complete the 10th canto, right? But he wrote that long before, just in case. The summary of the 10th canto, so that at least would be in the hands of the whole world population. So then, actually Prabhupada wanted that the Bhagavatam would be continued under the direction of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. That is a documented fact. And Pradumna knows that, because I talked with Pradumna, Prabhupada's Sanskrit secretary. But that didn't happen. And then there was an attempt to give the 10th canto, Gopi Paranadana Prabhu, Hridayananda Maharaj, and a few devotees. And it was not completely satisfactory, particularly in the very beginning when they started, because there was a devotee in charge of it who was writing the purports and expressing his own views. And that was the last thing that we wanted to hear. So he was actually major complaints came from the whole devotee community. And then he stopped with that 10th canto, and he jumped up to the 11th and 12th, and they did the 11th and 12th cantos and tried to rein it in as far as trying to write your own purports, but mainly trying to give the expression of what the acharyas have said. So the verses are there, quite well done. Some purports are there. But then, later on, Bhanu Swami in ISKCON worked together with Mahanidhi Swami, and they produced the entire commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Very nicely done. And anybody that reads the 10th canto with the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they'll understand why Srila Narayan Maharaj was speaking what he was speaking. Very much following the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And now there's also even another group who, it's called the Matsya Project, also has another name. And these devotees were students, Sanskrit students under Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, and they've dedicated themselves to presenting the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, but especially the 10th canto, with the commentary of all the Vaishnavacharyas. There's a group of about 11 or 12 of them. And I have one volume of that here with me. So that's also a scholarly endeavor, which is also appreciated and helpful. But when you have a subject matter dealing with the very topmost essence of Rasa Tattva, namely, the songs of the gopis, their Gita, the songs that they sang, the Braj gopis, and there are 5 of them. So beginning with Venu Gita. And we did not know so much about this. I just reread Prabhupada's chapter the other day to, so that I could remember how he had presented it. And it's very sweet, and but very synopsized. But if somebody wants to know what is the depth of all the moods and the essence, then you have to go to the acharyas, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. They've all written their commentaries. The original commentator, Sridhar Swami, right? So our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he presented this, Venu Gita, and it was the first time when all the verses with a very substantial commentary being presented by a realized, very exalted, topmost level realized contemporary acharya. And it's very worthwhile studying for all the devoted consciousness movement, now and into the future. But the introduction, wrote it in Hindi language, unlike the rest of the book, which was taken from his actual English, his English explanations. But very shortly after that, he was requested by especially the Hindi-speaking devotees in India to present the Venu Gita fully, and to give his commentary in Hindi. So he did that. And that's what we have in this version here. Some similarities are, of course, there because he's reading the same commentary and giving his comments, but it's much more elaborate and very appreciable, to hear from the translation from the Hindi version. But the introduction to both of these books is the same because it was written in Hindi by Gurudev. So in this way, we are going to begin to read this introduction and to hopefully derive tremendous spiritual profit and benefit by hearing and studying this, because what I noticed in my rereading of this, I didn't read the entire thing, but I was scanning it, and I noticed how, Srila Gurudev has really very clearly explained why these commentaries of our acharyas and these subject matters are very, very essential and necessary. And the praman and the evidence and the verses that he cites here in this introduction are very clear to understand why it is very necessary. So just one last point is that Srila Prabhupada presented this, as I said the other day, to the entire world. In his Krishna book, there was no restriction that he gave. Who it can be read by, who can distribute it to who, is it appropriate topics? No. He simply presented. But he also, as a realized acharya, he also substantiated everything with his own commentary, citing Bhagavad Gita quite often, and really introducing the personality, Sri Krishna, to the world. And although the pastimes of Krishna, particularly with the Braj Gopis, are a very high subject matter, which are not really accessible to even ordinary devotees. We were just reading that the other day in Prabhupada's purports to the Rai Ramananda Sambad. But nevertheless, time, place, circumstance, it was absolutely essential. And it had the proper effect. It had the proper effect. The devotees were living very strictly in the temples, following the 4 regulated principles, and relishing. We used to read the Krishna book on the way to Sankirtan in the Sankirtan van. We used to hear it during the prasadam and hot milk at night in Krishna book, you know. Such a wonderful lifestyle. Okay, so now paying obeisances at the lotus feet of our beloved Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to our beloved Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to all of our Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, we are bowing down at the lotus feet and begging their mercy that we can understand what they are presenting in this introduction to the 10th canto chapter describing the gopis, describing Krishna's flute, Venu Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is a direct manifestation of the Supreme Lord. It is an ambrosial, overflowing ocean of supremely sweet, nectarine love, prem ras, for the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan, that is, Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna, the personification of divine mellows. Rasika and Bhavuk devotees, absorbed in tasting the beauty of Krishna's pastimes, they always drown in this ocean. Rasika and Bhavuk devotees, absorbed in tasting the beauty of Krishna's pastimes, always drown in this ocean. Srimad Bhagavatam is the fully ripened, juicy fruit of Vedic literature that comprises the entirety of Indian thought. And within Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopi Prem, the love of the cowherd maidens of Braja, has been ascertained to be the ultimate objective. A few towering waves of Gopi Prem can be seen from the Venu Gita portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. A few towering waves of Gopi Prem can be seen from the Venu Gita portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Rasik devotees who are seasoned in experiencing divine loving sentiments, they drown themselves in these waves and even lose all consciousness of their own bodies. Greed to be immersed in this ambrosial ocean sprouts also in the hearts of the faithful devotees, in the hearts of the faithful devotees who are situated on the shore of this ocean. So, even the devotees who are not drowning in this ocean like the Rasik devotees, but by being situated on the shore of this ocean, the greed to be immersed in this ambrosial ocean sprouts also in their hearts. of the faithful devotees. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the combined form of Rasaraj, meaning the king of divine rasa, mellows, Rasaraj. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the combined form of Rasaraj and Mahabhav, the queen of divine love. And resplendent with the sentiment and bodily complexion of Sri Radha, he relished the nectar of Venugita with Sri Swarup Damodar and Sri Rai Ramananda in Sri Gambhira. Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami collected a few drops of this nectar in their commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Brihad Vaishnava Toshani and Laghu Vaishnava Toshani, respectively. Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So, what nectar? Few drops of what nectar? The nectar that Mahaprabhu relished in the Gambhira with Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, hearing the Venugita. So Sanatana and Jiva Goswami, they collected a few drops of this nectar in their commentaries, Brihad Vaishnava Toshani and Laghu Vaishnava Toshani, respectively. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, through his commentary named Shar Artha Darshani, has distributed to the whole world that same nectar in the form of remnants of their Mahaprasad. Now, some persons believe, here's where the topic begins. Some persons believe that unqualified sadhaks, spiritual practitioners, unqualified sadhaks, they are ineligible to hear, chant, or remember the topics of Sri Venugita or Sri Ras Panchadhyay, 5 chapters of Ras Leela, or the Jugala Gita, or the Brahmara Gita, and so on, as described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, some persons believe that these unqualified sadhaks are ineligible to hear, chant, or remember these topics. This consideration is fully legitimate. So here, Gurudev is saying, yes, some persons, they believe that these unqualified sadhaks are ineligible. This consideration is fully legitimate, but according to their conception, only a sadhak who has conquered the 6 urges, lust, anger, etc., who is free from all anarthas, and fully purified of the heart disease of lust, only such a sadhaka is eligible to hear such topics, while all others have no right. We will now examine this topic in greater detail. So now, what topic has Gurudev now presented as the subject matter of this introduction? Up to this point of our reading, let's review this. So he has opened up the topic of eligibility to hear this Venugita and other sections of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto specifically, and the eligibility and ineligibility. And he's putting forward that there are some persons who have a legitimate belief that such unqualified sadhaks are ineligible. Then he breaks it down to even a more specific analysis of their ineligibility. What does that ineligibility pertain to? Well, Here he says, according to their conception, a sadhak who has conquered the 6 urges. What are the 6 urges? Yeah.
Okay, urges of speech,
No.
of anger and the
No,
mind.
this is talking different than that. Those are the 6 urges mentioned in the beginning of Upadeshamrita.
Okay.
But this is talking about Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. Okay? But those 6 urges are also based upon that. There's a similarity. But here he's saying lust, anger, etc. So lust is not included in those 6 vega. Vega means urges or pushing. Now, that's one. Only someone who has conquered those, he is eligible to hear such topics. Then, further than that, they have become freed from all of their anarthas. What kind of anarthas is being spoken of here? 4 categories of anarthas. And is very broken down into 16 different types of anarthas. We can read that in the Vajan Rahasya as well as in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Clearly told, and the verses are specifically quoted there. What are the 4 different types of anarthas? But anartha in general, what does anartha mean? It means, here in parentheses it says, mean, selfish propensities. Anarthas. So these anarthas are the cause of the conditioned souls remaining bound within material existence. How do we know that? Because when Srila Vyasadeva was meditating after hearing the instructions of Narada Rishi, and he went into a very deep trance, and the conclusion that he came from after seeing Krishna's full control of everything and his pastimes, then there's a verse there in that chapter telling Anartam Sakshad Bhakti Yoga Madhoksaje. So he understood Anarta Upasamam Sakshad Bhakti Yoga Madhoksaje, that all of the anarthas that the conditioned souls have can be directly mitigated to adhoksaja. So that he understood, that these anarthas are keeping the conditioned souls in the material world. So here, this is the second group. First thing is that he has to have conquered the 6 urges. Second thing, free from anarthas. And third, fully purified of the heart disease of lust, called Hrid Rogam. And that heart disease of lust. So he's telling here that according to the conception of the people who say that these sadhaks who have not accomplished this purification, they're not eligible to hear these topics, while others, they're not eligible. But those who have conquered, yes, they have the right, but others don't have the right to hear. So then Gurudev says, we will now examine this topic in greater detail. So now comes the wonderful presentation of the appropriate understanding, the proper understanding of this. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami, who established and fulfilled the inner heart's desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he composed Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Sri Ujjvala Nilamani and other sacred texts. Kaviraj Goswami composed Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. While writing, they were deeply concerned that these confidential texts on rasa, the loving exchanges, should not fall into the hands of unqualified persons. And if this should occur, it could present a great disturbance to the world. Now, a glimpse of this topic is found in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4, verse 231, as stated by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Now here, these verses are being quoted. I'm reading these verses, 7 verses here, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj. So he's saying, "E sab siddhanta guda kahite na jujai, na kahile keho ihar anta nahi pai. Atayeva kahi kichu korina niguda, bujibe rasik bhakta na bujibe mudha. Hridaye dharai ye Chaitanya Nityananda, e sab siddhante se paibe ananda. E sab siddhanta hoy amrera pallava, bhakta gana kokiler sarvada vallava. Abhakta ustrer, ite na hoy pravesh. Tabe chitte hoy mor ananda vishesh. Je lagi kohite bhai, se jadi na jane, iha vai kiba sukha ache tribhuvane. Ataeva bhakta gane kori namaskar, nishanke kahiye tar hauk chamatkar. So pay close attention to the translation of these verses, because Srila Gurudev is utilizing these verses to give the proper understanding of whether or not these topics can be spoken, because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself is telling that in the 4th chapter of Adi Leela, toward the very beginning of the book. And talking about the glories and the tattva of Srimati Radhika very extensively in that chapter. So here's the translation of these verses. The esoteric and the confidential conclusions regarding the amorous pastimes of Rasaraj Sri Krishna with the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Braja, who embody the highest sentiments of divine love. So these esoteric and these confidential conclusions regarding the amorous pastimes of Rasaraj Sri Krishna with the gopis are not fit to be disclosed to the common ordinary man. This is the first point being made here. Because these are the topmost confidential, a sub-siddhanta guda. Siddhanta guda means very confidential conclusions. Kahite na jujai. Na kohile, keo inhar anta nahi pai. They are not meant to be disclosed to the common ordinary man. But without revealing them, no one can enter into this topic. Here's the whole point. Without revealing them, no one can enter into this topic. Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying. So I shall therefore describe these topics in a concealed manner, so that only Rasik devotees will be able to understand, whereas ineligible fools, they will not. What did he just say? Let's review this statement that he's making. I'm going to actually go to this. It's 4:231. Okay. I'm just going to the other Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what is he saying here? Let's analyze this statement. Okay. E sab siddhanta gudha, kahite na julyai. So all of this conclusions of Siddhanta are gudha, very confidential. And kahite na jujai, they are not fit to be spoken. Na kohile, to not speak. Keho, anyone. Ihar, anta nahi pai. If he says, these conclusions are unfit to disclose in public, but if they are not disclosed, if they are not, na kahile, keho ihar anta nahi pai. No one will understand them. So this is a paradox. This is a dilemma. That these conclusions are really not fit to be disclosed in public, because he's writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita and he's disclosing all of them, and they'll go into the public. He says, but if they're not disclosed, then no one will have the opportunity to understand them. And then he says, Atayeva kahi kichu korina nigudha. Therefore, I shall mention them, but I will do it only nigudha, in a confidential way. Koriya nigudha means revealing only their essence, not fully. Bujebe rasika bhakta nabujebe mudha. Oh, and because I'm doing it in this way, the rasik bhaktas, who are skilled in relishing the transcendental humors, they will be able to understand it, but the mudhas, they will not be able to understand it. Fools will not, he says. Now, Hridaye Dharaye Jay Chaitanya Nityananda, who is Mahaprabhu's heart, anyone, Paive Ananda, by hearing all mental conclusions. A sub siddhante se Paive Ananda. So those persons who have captured the heart, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then all of this siddhanta, Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, he will become blessed by hearing all of these transcendent. Amrera Pallava. Now here's a similar metaphor being used that Ramananda Roy and Krishnadas Kaviraj discussed at the very end of the Ramananda Roy Samvad, where he's to cuckoo birds. Remember? Yes. So he's saying, Siddhanta hoy amrer pallava. All of these conclusions are like newly grown twigs of a mango tree. And they are always pleasing to the devotees who, in this way, resemble cuckoo birds. Bhaktagana kokila, cuckoo birds. Sarvada vallabha, they're very pleasing. Now he mentions about the abhaktas, the non-devotees. These abhaktas are ushtrer. Ushtra means camel. The camel-like non-devotees, they cannot enter into it. Not hoy pravesh. Pravesh means to enter. So those who are camel-like, they cannot enter. And what is his conclusion about this? Here's that line. Tabe chitte hoy mor ananda vishesh. Therefore, there is special jubilation in my heart because of this fact. Can you tell why he's feeling special jubilation in his heart? Krishnadas Kaviraj.
Because he's able to do both things, to describe that the devotees will relish, but also bewilder the non-devotees who won't be able to even understand or enter into it simultaneously.
Yeah, because it's the nature of the subject that it's automatically barred entry to them. Because his dilemma was, these are not fit to be disclosed, but if I don't disclose them, no one can enter them. However, those who are the bhaktas, they will relish and taste. They can understand. All of this Siddhanta, they will understand. But the non-devotee, camel-like persons, no. They cannot enter. And therefore, because of this fact, tabe chitte hoy more ananda vishesh. There is this ananda vishesh, means very special ananda has come to me because of this. Because now I'm going to be able to tell and reveal all of this. And it's automatically protected and guarded from those who are not qualified to enter. So then he says, Jai lagi kohite bhai se jadi na jane, iha vai kiba sukha ache tribhuvani. For fear, I'm feeling some bhaya, some fear of them. So because of that fear, I do not wish to speak. But if they do not understand, then what can be happier in all the three worlds? This is a very important point in Srila Gurudev's presentation. He followed exactly the same line of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in his entire preaching mission. You understand this point? Are you following?
I think so. I think so.
You think so?
I mean, isn't it that like he will describe things in such a way that anyone that isn't qualified or that is not a devotee won't understand it. So it's okay for him to say, and it's good because he can reveal these topics such a way that only like actual bhaktas or Sikh Vaishnavas will understand it.
Yes, this is correct.
Yeah.
But particularly, it's the nature of the subject itself. Mm-hmm. It's not only how he's describing it, but it's the very nature of the subject that only those who are the qualified ones, they will actually be able to enter and to relish, and those who are not, they'll not be able to understand. So he's saying, I have a fear about speaking this because I fear that this will be misused, right? But since they can't understand, then what can be happier in all the three worlds for me? Because I am writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is only the beginning. This is the 4th chapter of Adi Leela. I'm going to reveal all of these things, all of the moods of Mahaprabhu, all of the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, everything I'm going to reveal. Actually, shouldn't be revealed. But here's why I'm going to reveal it. Because those who are not qualified, they cannot understand. If they're not qualified, they can't enter. They're camel-like non-devotees. So therefore he says, Atayeva bhakta gane kori namaskar. Therefore, after offering obeisances to all the bhaktagana, to all the devotees, for their satisfaction, I shall speak without hesitation. Nishanke means without any hesitation, any doubt. Kahiye, tar hauk chamatkar. So let there be this chamatkar, this astonishing presentation. I'm going to speak it now for the satisfaction of the devotees. So, those are the verses that Gurudev has quoted. Now I'm returning back to the text of Gurudev's introduction. Now, Gurudev says, by reading and by hearing these topics, everyone can attain the highest benefit. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has clarified this topic by quoting the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we're going to have to go much deeper and much further, because the first praman that he's presented are these verses that we just examined, okay? But there's more. There's a lot more. And now Gurudev is making everything more and more clear, because he's saying that by reading and hearing these topics, everyone can attain the highest benefit. We just heard that there are so many persons who will not be able to understand. So let's follow. Gurudev is presenting these various shlokas and verses that are proving the points that he's making. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, he has clarified this topic in this section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj has clarified by quoting the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 33rd chapter. So this is the very ending of the Ras Lila, Ras Panchadhyaya. So he's telling here, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Ashtita Bhajate Tadrashi Krida Ya Shrutva Tatparo Bhavet. In order to bestow mercy upon the devotees. Now, who is speaking this verse? Yes, Shukadev Goswami is speaking this verse. Verse 36 of the 33rd chapter. It's at the very end of the 5 chapters of Ras Lila. And Shukadev Goswami is speaking this verse. And he says, this is the translation of this verse, that in order to bestow mercy upon the devotees, as well as the conditioned souls, so it's both Bhaktanam and Manusham. The devotees specifically, Bhaktanam, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam, to bestow mercy upon the bhaktas. Manusam Deham Ashtita. So, in order to bestow mercy upon the devotees, as well as the conditioned souls, Bhagavan Sri Krishna manifests his human-like form. And he performs such extraordinary pastimes. Ras Lila. That's in parentheses here. But his extraordinary pastimes he performs in human-like, Manusham Deham Ashtita. And he performs them that anyone who hears them becomes exclusively devoted to him. What is being told here? That Krishna's mercy upon the bhaktas descending down into this world and acting like a human being, Manusham Deham Ashtita, human-like pastimes, he performs these extraordinary pastimes, specifically Ras Lila, that anyone who hears them becomes exclusively devoted to him. So, here Krishnadas Kaviraj points out in this verse, Bhajate Tadrishi Krida. The whole verse is saying, Bhajate Tadrishi Krida, Ya Shrutva Tatparo Bhavet. So, here Krishnadas Kaviraj points out that the verb bhavet, tatparo bhavet, in this verse is in the imperative mood. This means it is compulsory to hear such pastimes, as explained in the following verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi, chapter 4, verse 35. Here, this verse is being explained. In the beginning of the 4th chapter of Adi Lila, which we just read those line of verses from the end of that chapter, but in the very beginning of the chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj is quoting this verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. And here he's breaking it down in the Bengali verses. After he quotes this verse, he's breaking it down and he's saying that in this verse, the word bhavet is in the imperative mood. And therefore, this certainly must be done. To not do so would be a discrepancy. So, Goswami has used this word bhavet to tell that this must be done. Now, here Gurudev is referring to the commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami on this verse, 33, 36, this same verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. So Jiva Goswami's commentary, his Vaishnava Toshani commentary, Gurudev is now going to show how Jiva Goswami is explaining this verse. So for the information of the reader, I am referring here to Srila Jiva Goswami's Vaishnava Toshani commentary on the above quoted Srimad Bhagavatam verse. The words, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Astita. These words indicate that the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna appears in his original human-like form, and he performs various pastimes in order to bestow favor upon his devotees. Therefore, although Sri Krishna is satisfied in himself, aptakam, he's satisfied, that's his nature. Krishna is satisfied in himself. But although he is, his display of kindness towards the devotees is quite appropriate. This is the distinctive characteristic of Vishuddha Sattva, pure spiritual goodness. The Lord is always prepared to reward the devotees consistent with their performance of bhajan, worshipable service. So the favor shown toward King Rahugana by Jad Bharat, for example, and the Lord's favor toward Shukadev Goswami illustrates this point. So we know that King Rahugana, he did not recognize Jad Bharat in the story of when he was being carried on the palanquin. But Jad Bharat bestowed such favor on the king, right? Enlightening him, and he paid obeisances and begged forgiveness, and then he understood what elevated person he was. And here it says, and the Lord's favor toward Shukadev Goswami illustrate this. So in this verse under discussion, it is said that the Lord manifests his form and pastimes in order to bestow favor upon his devotees. The word bhakta, devotee, used here refers to who? And this is still coming from the commentary of Jiva Goswami that Gurudev is quoting here. The word bhakta in this verse, anugrahaya bhaktanam, so showing mercy to the bhaktas. The word bhakta used here refers to the Braja Devis, the gopis, and also the Brajavasis, the residents of Braj, and all other Vaishnavas, past, present, and future. All are being referred to here. So in order to bestow favor upon the Braja Devis, the Supreme Godhead Sri Krishna lovingly engages in such pastimes as Purvarag, when they're young, and they have this attraction and attachment to one another before they've actually met. The loving attachment experienced in anticipation of meeting Krishna is called Purvarag. So in order to bestow favor upon the Braja Devis, Krishna lovingly engages in such pastimes as they're growing up and exchanges with them. To bestow mercy upon all the residents of Braja, he enacts his birth and his other pastimes, and by all his activities, he bestows favor upon past, present, and future devotees through the medium of hearing the narrations of his divine pastimes. Pastimes to benefit the devotees. And by doing so, even ordinary persons, other than the devotees, who hear even the more common of the Lord's pastimes, they become fully intent on the Lord. Therefore, by hearing the supremely ambrosial Raslila, Sri Krishna's circle dance with millions of gopis, such persons will certainly become exclusively devoted to the Lord. Of this, there can be no doubt. This fact elaborately verses, such as Vikridita Vishnu, which is coming in the commentary. So, the words Manusam Deham Astita, which means that he performs his human-like Manusham Deham, like a human being with a human body. Manusam Deham Astita. The words Manusam Deham Astita may also indicate that those jivas who have attained the human form of life are able to hear all these pastimes. And thus they become exclusively devoted to the Supreme Lord. So here, there are two meanings to the Manusam Deham Astita. Not only that Krishna performs human-like pastimes, but also the jivas who have attained a human form of life. They are also able to hear all these pastimes, and in that by hearing, they become exclusively devoted to the Supreme Lord. This is so because the Lord incarnates exclusively on the earthly planets. And it is here only that worship of the Lord takes on its predominant form, on the earthly plane, not in the heavenly planets. So consequently, the human being residing on the earthly planets, beings, plural, the human beings residing on the earthly planets may easily hear these narrations of the Lord's pastimes. We find the word Bhaktanam in the verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. And it means for the devotees. Bhaktanam means for the devotees. So we find this word, Bhaktanam, in this verse. But in some other editions of this 10th canto, the word Bhutanam, which means all living entities, is found in its place. In the first case, the purport, meaning for the devotees, Bhaktanam, in the first case, the purport is that the Lord incarnates only for the sake of the devotees, who are thus the root cause of the Lord's appearance. But the Lord also appears in his original human-like form in order to bestow his favor upon the liberated souls, also upon the aspirants for liberation, even upon the sense enjoyers, and all other living entities in accordance with their relationship with his devotees. What is all these persons' relationship with his devotees? He's also bestowing favor upon all of them. So the Lord's compassion is therefore said to be the cause of his appearance. Nevertheless, it must be understood that the Lord's favor toward other living entities is due only to their relationship with his devotees. What's this point now? Krishna's favor upon all these other categories, those who want liberation, those who are sense enjoyers, even liberated souls themselves. So Krishna is bestowing his compassion upon them. And why is that? Because they have a relationship with his devotees. So it can be Bhaktanam, word use, or Bhutanam, all living entities. In his Bhagavatam commentary as Bhavarta Deepika, that's the name of Srila Sridhar Swami, the original commentator, Bhavarta Deepika. So Sridhar Swami has written that what to speak of the devotees, even materialistic persons are freed from their material absorption by hearing the Lord's pastimes. And thus they become exclusively fixed upon him. So we're hearing a lot of praman here, Gurudev is citing, to support the fact that Krishna's appearance is ultimately for all the living entities, to bestow mercy and compassion upon all the living entities, and particularly upon his own bhaktas. And how do they get that? By hearing about his pastimes. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse in his commentary known as Sar Artha Darshani. And here he's saying, Gurudev is quoting him here. I think we'll read this and then we'll stop for tonight because the artik has to go on. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining this verse known as Sarartha Darshani. This is what he says. Quote, "The Lord performs varieties of pastimes to show favor to his devotees. Coming in the human form of life, living entities who hear these pastimes become exclusively devoted unto the Lord." So we're hearing this again and again, aren't we? That those living entities who hear these pastimes, they become exclusively devoted to the Lord. In other words, they develop firm faith in hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities. I mean, hasn't this happened to us? Huh? Has it not happened to us?
It has.
Yeah. We heard these pastimes, and then what? Now we become devotees. And we've developed firm faith in hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, what more shall I say about the importance of hearing about Krishna's pastimes? And this Ras Leela, being fully imbued with Madhurya Rasa, is eminently distinguished even from the Lord's other pastimes. And now he gives this amazing example. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving this example about the Ras Leela pastimes. He says, like a jewel, a mantra, or a powerful medicine. 3 examples are being given here. Like these 3, this Ras Leela is endowed with such indisputable, astonishing potency that by hearing it, all persons in the human form, they become devoted to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all varieties of devotees who hear the descriptions of these pastimes will become successful and will obtain supreme pleasure. Can there be any doubt of this? End quote. Well, just see. Why are these 3 examples being given? I've also heard Gurudev explain like this. The jewel, a mantra, or a powerful medicine, herb. So, a jewel, you know that astrologically different planets are connected with different gemstones, right? So astrologers, they know that the gemstones, they have a powerful connection, which is not perceivable by everybody, but they are connected with the various planets, right? And so therefore they prescribe you should wear this gemstone to protect you against this influence and so forth, right? This is all throughout all Vedic astrology. So a jewel, if somebody wears it, so they put on a jewel, oh, you should wear this yellow sapphire, right? Does that person who puts on the jewel by the direction of the astrologer, do they understand how the jewel is doing what it does? No, of course not. Of course not. There's no anything. No, boom, they do not understand. They cannot perceive how the planet and the jewel are connected and how the jewel is doing such and such in connection with that planet. Nobody can perceive that, how it's acting, right? Now he's used that first example, a jewel. Second one, a mantra. We have a lot of experience with mantras because we're always chanting mantras. And we also know the glories, especially of Mahamantra, Sikshastakam is describing, and so forth. There are also mantras which are used in archery, in warfare of the Kshatriyas. There are also mantras that are used to control poisonous snakes. There are so many different kinds of mantras. Does the person who's pronouncing the mantra understand? Can he perceive directly how this mantra is doing what it does? No. No. I've heard stories, I can't remember from where, but that a snake came and bit. I think it was a cobra. This is a story that I've heard within Gaudiya Math. And this is a contemporary story. And the snake bit a person. Then they brought this mantra snake charmer. Because in India they have such persons. For generations, they've learned these different mantras. By mantra, he called the snake, because the person was going to die who was bitten. So he called the snake and the snake came. And by mantra, he told the snake to extract its poison from the person's bite.
Oh.
Yes, and the snake did that. Can you understand how this mantra chanter of the snake mantra is, and how that mantra is acting? No, you cannot understand. So these two examples are given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he's giving these examples about the Ras Leela. What kind of effect the Ras Leela can have. So the next, third one, example is what? A powerful medicine. You have some very serious physical problems, medical problem. You go to an Ayurvedic doctor who's thoroughly knowledgeable. That Ayurvedic doctor examines you. He takes your pulse. Then he prescribes. You take these 3 medicines at these times in this dosage for the next 3 days, and then come back to me, and then I'll examine you, and then after that. So this doctor is giving you the prescription. And you go to the shop, you buy the herbs, and you consume those herbs according to his instruction, right? And you get better. Do you understand how the herbs did what they did? No, you don't. So, in conclusion, he's telling here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that like a jewel, like a mantra, or a powerful medicine, this Ras Leela is endowed with such indisputable, astonishing potency that by hearing it, all persons in the human form become devoted to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all varieties of devotees who hear the descriptions of these pastimes, they will become successful. They'll obtain supreme pleasure. Can there be any doubt of this? So based upon such a statement by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, our Prabhupada gave the Krishna book for everyone. Anyway, we'll continue tomorrow. We've gotten about, not quite half the way through this commentary. A lot more. Maybe we've gotten 1/3 of the way through. So, understood so far? How Gurudev is, he is putting together all of these different pramans and evidence to show that ultimately everyone must hear the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And there are different levels of pastimes. Like he said, some are more, what was the word he used? Ordinary. Some are more ordinary pastimes. But the Ras Leela is the topmost of all. Is the topmost of all pastimes of Krishna's, and it contains all of his pastimes in that Ras Leela. And therefore, it's so extraordinary that our great acharyas are telling like this. It must be heard. Shukadev Goswami is saying it must be heard. So other warnings will also be given tomorrow. We'll also hear that Shukadev Goswami is also giving a warning that no one should ever even imitate in his mind the Lord's pastimes. Because what will happen? They'll be destroyed. Just like if somebody foolishly tries to imitate Lord Shiva by drinking poison, which he did, and then he'll be destroyed. So those who are not the Supreme Lord, they're Anishwara. They're not Ishwaras. And they're powerless. They're subjected to karma. They should never imitate the Lord's pastimes even within their minds. So all these pramans and evidence will be given. By the time we have thoroughly studied this full presentation of this introduction, we will very clearly understand how Srila Gurudev made his own determination what he was going to speak, to which audiences, to what extent, and it was perfect. Perfect. Gaur Premanand. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Shri Venu Gita ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamritam ki jai, Premanande Vancha Kalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Bheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. You're the Pujari tonight.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, they all went for a trek to a waterfall or something. Yeah.
For the birthday celebration.
Yes. Yeah. They had a good day, and we had even a better day.
I hope you can finish tomorrow night, because then for the next 3 nights, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll be gone.
Oh, where are you going?
Orange County.
Orange County. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Let's see. Maybe we'll be able to. We'll try. But if not, it'll be recorded. Okay. Take it away.
Really?
Tulsi. Hari Bol. Shri Gaur Arati ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Jugal Arati ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Guru Gauranga Gandharva Kavirari. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji ki jai.
Jaya, 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 Gauriya Chanda, Radhika Shobha. Jaya, Jaya, Gauriya Chanda, Radhika Shobha.
Vinod Radha Vinod Bihari ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Satar Sat Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Satar Sat Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Satar Sat Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Pravishta Satara Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Nitilila Pravishta Vishnupad Satara Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Srila Goswami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jai. Nitilila Pravishta Satara Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Bhakti Siddhanta ki jai.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahavadutta Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Satchidananda Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Shri Vedanta Acharya Baladev Vijayabhushana Prabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj ki jai. Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Dev Gopala Dasa Raghunath Prabhu Sid Goswami ki jai. Jai Shri Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Hare Krishna Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sarup Damodar Ramananda Rai Gaura Prabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda ki jai. Jai Vrindavan Braj Bhumi Dham Mulmai Gangamai ki jai. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Subhadra Devi Sudarshan ki jai. Jai Jagannath Chatra ki jai. Jai Shri Dham Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jai Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
You want to sing the Nrsimha prayers?
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Pralada Lada Daya.
ki jai. Jai Bhakta Prabhu Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha Deva ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai.
Jai.